In this scenario, we will use the CAM Template Designer tool to make a change to a template, publish the updated template, and then go to CAM to deploy it. So let's take a look at the template we use for this example. It deploys a single virtual machine into a vSphere cluster. Here we see a visual representation, including the VM, the network it is connected to, as well as other details, like the virtual disk and the resource pool. On the Source tab, we can see the entire template source. Note how it defines a large set of parameters for the individual attributes needed for the deployment of the VM. One of the variables defines the size of the root virtual disk that will be allocated, and it is set to 25 gigabytes as the default. Even though that default value can be overwritten, we want to set it to a more suitable value, 60 gigabytes, since that matches the template image that we're going to use. Besides the template source, we also have the CAM variables.json file loaded. It contains metadata about the variables defined in the template. Note how it references two data types at the beginning. A data type represents a number of parameters, and here we see one that covers the cloud settings of the deployment and another one that covers the virtual machine settings. The template variables are then referred to those data types, and we'll see later how we maintain the actual values for those variables in CAM in a central place. Let's go back to the template and make sure we save the change we had made earlier. Then we'll go to the Git repo tab and commit and push the change to the GitHub repo. This repo is also from where CAM loads the template. We'll get there in a minute. To be able to push the change, we need the GitHub token, since I'm using a private repo here. Alright, so we have made a change to the template and uploaded that change into GitHub. Now we can go to the CAM instance and deploy it. But before we go to the deployment dialog, let's revisit those data types we looked at. There were two data types used by this template, one for the cloud attributes and one for the VM attributes. See how both are defined in the shared parameters area in CAM. Moreover, we have two objects in here, one for the cloud data type and one for the VM data type. These objects contain the actual values for each parameter. So think of the data type as defining the fields that the template uses, and the data object contains the values for each field. I added the number 178 to the object names because the values in there refer to a vSphere environment ending in 178. Now it's time to do the actual deployment. I select the single virtual machine template, and it's connected to the template in GitHub that we just updated a minute ago. Since it gets refreshed automatically, there's nothing we need to do to pick up the change we made. Under parameters, it shows the two data types again that are used for the parameters values. What we see here is the equivalent of the CAM variables file we had open in the Template Designer tool earlier. So let's deploy this template. It asks for a name and a cloud connection to be used, but then it also asks for 2 data objects that provide the values for the parameters defined in the data types. Once I specified the objects to be used, all of the parameter values below are automatically populated from those objects. There's nothing else left for me to do. Now we click on Deploy, and a couple minutes later we have a running VM. This completes the scenario. We used the Template Designer tool to make a change to a template, uploaded it into Git, and then deployed the template using CAM. To avoid having to type in the entire set of vSphere parameter values that the template requires, we used predefined data objects that are maintained centrally on CAM and which can be reused across many deployments.